I can see that I totally forgot part of your face there, Braden. And that's this part. That's one of the most important parts of your likeness, is how this goes up here, and it kind of makes a indention in your jawline. Got a really strong jaw. There we go. And I can just even this out. It looks a little uneven, so won't hurt that a bit. So you can see how you've got 1, 2, 3 values on this painting so far. And I am happy with that. I can go through and make some of these other shapes maybe look just a little bit better. But you know, artistically speaking, it's just fine. The way it is right now, it's just fine. Might want to do the shirt a little bit, since that's flesh right there. This is looking a little bit streaky in the ear because those highlights are not there. So I'm just going to do that and touch it. One of my instructors puts his palm on his painting constantly like that. Yeah, okay. So now that I evened that out, I see some holes in here. So I'm going to squint and act like I'm a pointillist and just touch it. And that might just be fine there. Alright, now I'm going to pause and mix the next color, which is going to be underneath the chin here. And I've got lots of, I'm not going to pause quite yet. I've got this whole area here and here. And this says there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 colors in there. I'm not going to concern myself with that. I want one mass color. And so I think I'm going to shoot for a kind of a purple, because I see purple here, purple here. The reason it's changing here is because whenever something goes around a form, around the chin, it gets more blue. And that's a trick we can use to make it go more blue. So right now I'm going to mix this purple. I guess I'll just go ahead and mix it and I won't pause. I've got this mixture in here already, and it won't be dirty because it's going to go darker. So ultramarine blue and red is going to make a purple. If the purple's not dark enough, I'm going to add some burnt sienna and then more ultramarine blue. So we've gone really blue. That would be a perfect color if I was going to separate that shape, but I'm not going to. I'm going to, right now, keep it in the purple family. So I'm going to add some more red. I think that will do it. Get a little water. I am lacking water. Okay, a little bit of water. And it wouldn't hurt to put a drop of my gum arabic into this new color. Mix it all up. And we know the lights dry lighter. The lights dry darker and the darks dry lighter. So I'm just going to try this color. And this is what I'm shooting for. In fact, right now I'm not even going to look at the color photo. I'm just going to concentrate on these darks, really darks under his chin right here. So I'm going to squint and I'm going to try to get this shape. It looks like a triangle, comes over, looks like just a uneven sort of a line. He's got a definite cleft in his chin right there, and then all of this disappears. That's the side of his chin. I'm not going to worry about it. This comes down, it feels a little bit dry, so I'm going to add a tiny touch of water. Touch my paper towel. I'm going to come down and add the shadow here, which is a pretty strong shadow, pretty nice part of his likeness. Now adding that water, it's made it more watery, so I can touch my brush on the paper towel. Maybe that will take off some of that water. I don't think I can go back in. I'm gonna have to let it dry. This shape I can go into. And I've already got something established here because I didn't want to lose it before, so that kind of was a good decision, wasn't it? So I'm going to go and do the mouth, this part, and then come up. It goes kind of high up here. Then I can kind of reestablish this black. I'm going to look at the angle, make sure it's right, and it is, because Braden did a great job drawing it. That angle is right. And it actually goes off the page, so I'm going to do that even though it feel a little insecure about that. But once this goes all black, it'll be just fine. Where else can I reestablish this purple? Right over here, this neck, and then down here. We lost this guy, so we'll bring that back. And then we kind of don't know what's going on with the eye, so I'm going to reestablish that eyebrow is what happened. We lost the eyebrow. And you see where I've gone over dark with light. It kind of gives it a milky look, which is good if you want that. In this sense, I don't really want that. So I'm going to go back and reestablish those darks. Not anything serious. Yeah. The nose I might reestablish a little bit because it's also more purpley, so that would be more pleasing. So I'm just looking at all of these black shapes that I put in earlier to start the painting. And I'm just going to make them now more of a color. Anywhere else? Well, there's always the hair, but I don't think I'm ready for the hair yet. He's got a mole here. I'm just going to ignore that because I don't really see a mole when I look at him, and that's how I judge that. This is going to go a little darker, and this is his shadow cast from the shirt, so that's always a very dark. And for now, that's all I see. I might clean that up a little bit. And if I squint, this line looks a little thicker, so I shall thicken it. And then there's like a little tuft in between. But you see how I'm just getting in and getting out, getting in, getting out, touching it, getting out. I'm gonna make sure these are the right place, and I'm gonna put a little of that there. So now we have a really good likeness. We have a really good base to start from if we want to start adding color. I can squint back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and see, is this too dark on him? Is this too light, etc., etc.? And I think it's good. Now I can pull this out, but if I'm looking at this, I don't want a posterized, person. I want this. So the smoothness is what we're after. Can you see both of these in here? Perhaps I will pull it up a little bit. I don't want to drop my iPad. So the difference in this and this is the smoothness. Like that really is there, but it's not that extreme. So what do we do now? How do we get the smoothness back? How do we get that skin tone nice and smooth? Well, I don't know. We're going to find out. How are we going to do this? One of the ways we can do it, they say, let's do this. Let's add some more purple. So they say that we can go on top of it with a little cross hatching, and I don't have very much paint at all in on my brush. And see how these lines kind of go up? If I was using a stick of charcoal, this is what I would do. If you were drawing with a pencil, well, these are the areas that now we want to make look realistic. So I'm just going to try and gently brush some of these places and get more of a likeness. Like this is not quite so severe as it was in the black and white, but that's okay. This is art. I might, redraw a little bit here. I can kind of see the eyelid now. There's probably another tone right there by that dark. What else? What else can I do now? I'm going to need to bring up this skin tone, and that's probably bothering you, my viewers. So I'm going to see if I can mix up. So I just put some white into that purple that I was just using, and and it kind of makes a nice pink. I can probably put it up here. Can you see that on top of here? Barely. But it makes a nice pink. But also I can test, you know, how long can I go on this before it starts to pick up the paper and make a mess. How does that look if I glaze that over the dark? So this might be a situation where the glazing will come in handy. I still think he probably needs to be a little more fleshy. So I'm going to barely touch the red. Then I'm going to wipe my brush off and then put a little more red in there. So that's a real pink. So this is a real pink. So maybe it's too pink. Maybe I take some of this little mustard color I accidentally made. There we go. Now that's not so pink. Now I can test this on here, and I can see that that's pretty darn dark. I don't want to lose my darks. So I'm going to add a little white, and I've lost a place to put white. Okay. I'm just going to add some white right here on the side. And pure white right into this mixture, which is making it pretty chalky and stiff. So I get a little drop of the gum arabic, and let's see what we can do. Let's see the best way to render this face in gouache so that it's soft. Okay, I'm going to first off think about in between this dark and this light. Can I put something here that will bridge it? Okay, so this is going to dry darker. That's okay, because I do have like a lighter area that I see that's being cast. So I'm just going to try, instead of blending the two together, I'm going to try and just see if I can put a tone there that will complement it. And you see how this kind of goes out. I'm still following those shapes, but I'm not going to be, you know, so tediously hampered, I guess is the right word. Okay, so that's not bad. Missed a spot there, so I'll go in. Okay, let's see. This is still wet. Let's see if we can reactivate some of these. Like, that's a pretty color. Whoops. I guess school's out. This is a very pretty color here. So I'm going to put this right up here and then try to save that little highlight of the nose, but make this a prettier color. And I'm going to gently go into that next color. So that's not bad. If I let that dry for a minute, well, actually I can kind of glaze over some of these. Yeah, I can glaze over the light, and I can glaze over the dark. And the little dry brush that comes out from that, I can make little cross hatches. And then I don't see, get a little more water, I don't see these big holes in the paper that watercolor paper makes if I gently dab it. Gently dab it. So this would be just like blending it with a blending stump. This is no different than blending it with a blending stump. It leaves marks of your direction, so you might want to try to think about going in the direction of what something is doing. Like this direction would be that way. The nose, you know, this little direction is going that way, so maybe my brush stroke will go like that a little bit. I can cut into that, because really it doesn't touch, so I'll cut into that. And now we have this guy sitting here by himself. So that looks kind of good. I think that looks nice up there. I think the trick is just, like I say, getting in, getting out. Okay, I'm going to go back on top of this and try it here. I'm going to put a wash over the whole thing. And go in the direction of the way that the light is hitting this face. Maybe up like that. And just try to get something that isn't quite so shape bound, if that makes sense. Something that's not quite so jigsaw puzzle-ish. How about that? I'm quite happy with that. Now that is too dark, so I'm going to go in and go on top of that. This is dried, so that's okay. I'm happy with this. I think that's nice. This is not bad. Let's put a little of this pink on top of the eye, the eyelid. And then I'm also going to put it in the white of the eye, because that's actually the color of the white of the eye, is just the flesh right above it. Touch, because I went over too far. Okay, let's do the nose. Going to go the direction of the light, because we know there's not a big shape like that on his nose. We know that it's going into the shadow, so take the shape and the direction that the light is falling. Try to not have too much paint on the brush, or too many places where it's gonna overlap, and then stop. I do see kind of a line underneath his hair here. I think that's kind of pretty, so I'm gonna just put that in, because that's one place where a line would be nice. Most places we just don't want a bunch of lines. I'm gonna do the same thing up here. And then that's created a contrast between the really dark hair, that really dark shadow that's falling. All right, anywhere else? I'm pretty happy with that. I think this is still a little too severe, so I'm going to go in with a little more light. And then this separation has not happened, so I'm going to go in and separate it now. Go over a little bit, and then I don't think I can do it anymore, so I got to get out of there. This part of the nose could be cleaned up a little bit. Now this is important, this little deal where the light hits the top of his lip. So I'm going to now bring that in. I'm probably going to go lighter later, but right now I just want to set the stage for it. This little thing that looks like the shape of Italy. I'm going to go in and bring that down, and then just smooth out the side of it. But I want to leave most of it, because that is what's really happening. So this is not bad. I'm happy with it. I'm going to add a little bit of water, but I'm not going to get much farther with this color. I'll have to mix more. I don't want to mix more, so I'm going to come down here and try to use it up. So again, we see the directions that this is going. We know that he doesn't have a muzzle like that, so I'm going to just go into that color. And I'm going to try and go on top of here, and anywhere that I touch is going to create a line, so I'm going to try to be very careful to not create a line. And if I do get, somewhat of a line, that's okay. But we definitely want to try and minimize it. This is going to go into here. This one's coming over here. Just going to gently go over the top of it. And then see if that will do it. I'm going to go over this jaw and just let it stay like that. Go over the front of this. And there we go. Now we can define this part of the jaw a little bit more. Come around here, I can't hear you. Do you need me?
It's not filming, I'm saying.
It is.
No, it says battery low.
Does that mean it's not filming?
Yeah.
Oh. How'd you know?
Because
I mean, how did you see that it was not filming?
I see it.
Oh, you looked underneath?
Uh-huh.
Goodness. How far I got.